Hey everybody, welcome back. Catherine here with Clover Events. I'm so excited today to be joined by my friend Laura, the owner of Fierce Productions. She's a fellow wedding and event planner here in Chicago. And I wanted to chat with her today because Fierce Productions has been doing some really, really fun and cool stuff since COVID hit. And so I thought it would be fun to bring her on just to hear more about what they've been doing, how they've pivoted their business in this interesting and unique time. So welcome, Laura. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. We'll have a fun conversation for sure. So like I said, we've loved watching you really work hard to pivot your business since obviously we haven't been able to plan and execute weddings and events in the way that we normally would since the beginning of March or so. So tell us a little bit more about Parties to Go and virtual parties and some of this really fun stuff you've been doing.
Yeah. So just like you said, March was an interesting time for us all. And as my wedding started to become postponed, events canceled, I quickly realized that 2020 wasn't going to be what I had planned or what all my clients had planned.
Yeah.
And I think the first 2 weeks of quarantine, I freaked out like everyone else did, and I was just kind of checking in with the world and seeing what was needed. And I'm like a huge fan of Shark Tank,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm such an entrepreneur at heart, and I'm always thinking like, how can I solve a problem, right? And so I realized, okay, the problem right now is no one's allowed to do anything and no one's allowed to have any fun. Like
Yeah.
it's not safe and people don't feel safe and they're stuck at home, can't go to a restaurant. Like here we are in this age where like literally we can only be home.
Yeah.
So people are going to be desperate to celebrate and to have fun. And I'm like, okay, people are still having birthday parties. People are still getting engaged. People are still living their life. So what can I do as an event planner to bring the party to them and to bring joy? And I'm also a theater person.
Right. I love that.
So I'm a trained actor. And so I have a lot of experience with the theater world, and a lot of my community and my friends, my husband's an actor, are actors and professionals in the theater community here in Chicago. And I also am a huge fan of drag. I don't know if you could tell, but drag is my favorite art form. And I started looking at what the theater community and the drag community was doing, and they were putting on these virtual events. And I attended a live drag show virtually, and I thought it was absolutely fabulous. So I'm like, okay,
You can still have fun in your home.
you can still have fun in your home. So what can I do? So I let it marinate, and then literally one morning I woke up, and right upon waking up, I thought, Parties to Go, I'll bring the party to them. Like literally, like I don't know. It just happened.
Yeah.
So I spent like nonstop 16 hours revamping my website, figuring out the business model for something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, we're service based. Everything we do is based on like time. And my idea was, okay, well, I'm going to bring parties to them. They're not going to hire an event planner and put me on retainer to like figure something out right now.
Right.
People right now are freaking out. They just need options.
Yeah.
So I thought I need to put together packages, curated packages, because I'm the pro. I know what's good.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to support local small businesses on top of it. Because we were all just like, I don't know if I'm going to be in business anymore. I don't even know what's going to happen. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I want to help people celebrate, and I want to help my fellow frienders and my fellow small businesses. So I thought, okay, I need stationery, I need cake, I need food, I need entertainment. So I went to some of my favorite people, flowers, balloons, and I said, hey, I'm putting together these party packages. I'm going to advertise your business on my website and be advertising your products. In return, I'd love you to offer me your products. I'll take care of all the sales. I'll take care of all the like coordination, the back and forth, and the delivery. I just need you to like offer me a particular sized cake for a particular price so that I can make this work for my business model.
Right.
And so I got a really great team of vendors together and curated some packages. And then I also realized a build your own would be important so that people could have customizable options, because not everybody's going to want to pay that price or pay. And it was like 2 weeks of me figuring it out and realizing what worked, what didn't work, and then finding the right price point.
Yeah.
And then bam, it just, people started hearing about it. I started marketing it mostly on Instagram.
Yeah. So, I mean, you did such a great job with that, really, I think, helping people understand what you were offering.
I dressed up in a hazmat suit.
Yes, that was the best.
Because I have a costume closet. That was my husband's Breaking Bad costume from the year where I dressed up as the meth, and I was in blue. Like I had a blue wig, blue lipstick, blue bodysuit, and I carried around like blue candy.
That's amazing.
And he was also white. I was like, I have a hazmat suit.
Yeah, because you certainly could not get your hands on one in March. That's for sure. Those were legitimately selling out everywhere.
And it wasn't real, obviously, but it did the job. So, you know, I have nothing else to do. So film me running around in the street with the hazmat suit. Film me with the, you know, there's my theater background. So yeah, we had our first one, and it was a birthday party, and I brought them balloons and cake, and I dressed up in the hazmat suit and surprised them. And then a few of them I dressed up in sparkles and surprised them. I did a lot of anniversaries, a lot of birthdays, and always tried to bring fierce into it, which was make it about the experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so like really working with the client to create something special. So whether it was like a surprise and me coordinating that surprise for them so that it really was something special for the person, and like helping them film it and sending them the film since they weren't there in person. And then at a certain point I realized people are going to want entertainment. What can I do for entertainment? And so I reached out to some of my favorite drag queens, some of my favorite musicians, and I was like, serenades. We can do customized serenades for people. So I had my drag queen friend lip sync some of people's favorite songs and send that to them virtually. Or like my musician friends sing something from the Beatles or whatever and send it to them. And yeah, I mean, I did Mother's Day. I mean, we had like 10 to-go parties on Mother's Day where I like brought out I had a tray and like made it all look beautiful. And then amongst all this, I teamed up with one of my favorite people, Michael Rodriguez of Cajun Aquarium. We have the same birthday, March 5th.
Awesome.
Pisces Pie. We're very similar energies as people. Yeah. And we started talking and we're like, what can we do to like bring fun? Like how can we elevate this? And I love dancing. I am like always out dancing. I'm from Miami, Florida. So it's like, I love shaking my booty, and like if I'm planning your wedding, I'm probably going to be dancing with the DJ at some point.
Especially if it's DJ Michael.
So I'm like, how can we create a dance party somehow, weirdly? So he and my husband, who has a lot of production stuff, and I were like, how do we bring high quality music through a platform like this? Because till then, like every time you try to play music on Zoom, it's a nightmare.
Right.
And I looked to the drag community and I'm like, oh, they're using Twitch, and Twitch doesn't cut you off for copywritten music, and Twitch, the sound quality is really good. So Michael bought a part, I don't even know, you have to ask him, to like connect it through Twitch. And then my husband figured out how to use this live streaming program software program, OBX or whatever. I don't even know what I'm saying. I was just like, you two figure it out. I'll handle the creative part. You figure out the technical. I have no freaking clue, and it's frustrating me anyway. So they figured out how to live stream. Michael's in San Diego. We're in Chicago.
Michael's not even here, right?
And he's live streaming his DJ set via Twitch. So initially with their virtual party, we had people come into Zoom. We had people RSVP through Eventbrite. They got a Zoom link and a Twitch link, and we just asked them to open both up at the same time. And I was kind of like the MC, and I schmoozed and like talked to people. And I'm like, okay, how do I get people to connect? Because usually when you're at a party, you can just like walk over to someone.
Right.
But with Zoom, you can't have everybody talking at the same time. So we muted everybody. And I was almost like, I was the host. And so I would like unmute someone and be like, hey, it's my friend Lemmy from New York. How's it going in New York, Lemmy? And I'd interview people. And then I'd be like, oh, you two haven't seen each other for a long time. I went to high school with them. Let me tell you a story about my prom. Da, 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 you know?
Oh.
And then we had performers involved. Again, another problem is live streaming. That's a whole other issue, is like a live performance, unless you are like NBC, it's impossible to do.
Right.
So I had them pre-record videos.
That's great.
And then we live stream them.
Yeah.
So I had burlesque, drag, live music, and then schmoozing in between. I had a bartender come on and show us how to make cocktails, and we had kits.
Fun.
And then we had a dance party. And the first one, there were like 100 people on the Zoom.
Oh.
And we were all dancing.
More than just a dance party, you know, you've offered some additional entertainment options, which is really fun.
It was magical. I could not believe I'm standing in my basement, dancing at my computer, and somehow feeling community.
Yeah.
And these were just things we did. We offered bi-weekly for free, just for anybody who wanted to join. And we talked about parties to go. And within parties to go, you could add on a DJ set. You could add on like a makeup party, a virtual like tutorial on how to do your makeup. So I started doing these makeup tutorials with my girlfriend from LA.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, yeah. And then at a certain point, we figured out how to live put the music through Zoom. So we didn't have to have both links up. And then I noticed as it got warmer and phase 3 started, people were like, I'm done with the virtual.
Well, I do think, yeah. I mean, I think that those kinds of things really served such an important purpose for people at the beginning of this in March and April. And I mean, I have definitely seen a significant decrease in just the amount of time I'm spending on Zoom on a daily basis. You know, because we can get outside and it is easier to see people, you know, in a responsible and socially distant way. So, yeah, so maybe the virtual parties sort of phase out, but then you phase in Little Bit Fierce. So tell us.
Yeah. Another pivot. Yeah. So, the virtual parties kind of died down, and then my parties to go have also gotten slower, but the last one I did was a couple weeks ago, and they didn't want the virtual element. So I actually had my friends who are performers show up at the house for a wedding shower and serenade them in person.
Wow.
And so we were all in our little clump, socially distanced.
Yeah.
But they sang Till There Was You by the Beatles. And this couple who had to have their wedding postponed, they had champagne and they had the cake and the dinner and all the things. And they were being serenaded and they were like crying and dancing, and all of their aunts were crying, and it was beautiful. So
lovely.
We're going to be doing another one in a couple weeks. So people are really wanting that connection. So yeah, with Little But Fierce, my name, Fierce Productions, there's a very famous quote in Midsummer Night's Dream: though she be but little, she is fierce, based on the character Hermia, who's shorter than Helena, and is made fun of that throughout the play. Because, you know, it's a love triangle or a love box of people who are all hoping that, you know, they love each other. And they say, though she be but little, she is fierce. So I thought, oh my God, my event producer assistant, Connor, actually, who's also in theater, she's an actor, she was like, oh man, maybe we call them though she be but little they are fierce. And I was like, no way, what if we call them little but fierce?
Perfect.
And then though they be little they are fierce. And I think as soon as the pandemic started, I think we all as event professionals realized if there's going to be anything going on this year, it's going to be tiny.
Yeah, right.
And it's going to be backyard if unless venues open up. And I had the Wicker Park Inn.
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Laura as well. Reach out to me based on what I was doing on Parties to Go, and she's like, "I'm thinking of putting together these micro packages." And this was back in like April. She said this to me.
Yeah.
She's like, "That's going to be the trend," and I was like, "You're absolutely right. Let's do something together."
Mm-hmm.
And then Parties to Go was kind of happening, and that's started to slow down. And I created these packages essentially for people who want to get married this year or celebrate their birthday party or an anniversary. And we can bring the party essentially to your backyard or at one of the few venues I've partnered with. And really what it is it's curated event packages. So as you know, traditionally when you work with a planner, you're starting with a blank piece of paper and their vision, and then you're together creating it and going on this journey.
Right.
Here I've said, here's your florist, here's your you can choose from these 4 venues or your backyard. This is your photographer, this, you have a couple caterers to choose from, XYZ. And here are the 3 options if it's a wedding. So ceremony and photos, ceremony and cocktails, ceremony, dinner, and entertainment. Yeah. And it started in phase 3 for 10 people. And we did a mini ceremony and photo session for my clients who had to postpone their bigger wedding for next year, in their backyard in phase 3. And it was magical. And now we're in phase 4. So we did a wedding giveaway for phase 4, phase 3, phase 4 to a hero. And yeah, and so we're in the midst of planning that for an August mini wedding.
Right.
And yeah, it really, I wanted to make sure it was still customizable for people because weddings are so personal. Yeah. But really it's just taking out a lot of the decision making and streamlining it, and you're getting it from a trusted professional with people I've vetted, and you don't have to go through all that, you know?
I think for so many people, this time period has been so stressful. And so to be able to know that, you know, you can have this great, wonderfully curated party without having to do all of that work yourself is probably really, it's a nice option for people to still be able to celebrate in the way that they want. Yeah. So just to kind of wrap things up, tell me what bringing joy through the Parties to Go, through the virtual parties, through the tiny events, what has that meant for you and for your business in this time?
Yeah. Well, coming from the theater world, I was an actor primarily, and I never really understood why I liked acting, to be honest. Like, I knew I loved the attention and I loved dressing up and becoming someone else and like escaping from reality. But I never really truly understood it until I started my business. And what I've realized is what I'm always seeking, and really what the mission of Fierce is to build community and connection.
Yeah.
And to uplift people and make them feel heard. And, you know, like every event, anybody in this industry, to celebrate the biggest moments of our lives.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a home with my abuela. She planned parties, and like my whole childhood was parties. Mm-hmm. And I just grew up with that, and I always understood the significance and the importance of a gathering of people. And then my theater background, when you're in the theater, you're in an ensemble, and then you're performing in front of a group of people. And it's so much about like the experience between you and the audience. And I look at events as a play, essentially. Like I look at a wedding as a story. I look at any kind of celebration as a story that someone is trying to tell. So being able, through a lot of grief and sadness and despair and just not knowing about what was going to happen, and being able to share that joy with other people to make them feel happy, even if they're having a horrible day, and they open their door and there's cake and flowers and balloons when they didn't think that was even possible.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, you know, the best part of our job is at the end of the wedding when everybody's sweaty and like the last song plays and everyone embraces, and then the couple comes up to you and they're like, thank you. This was the best day of my life and I couldn't have done it without you. I mean, I have chills right now. That's why we do this, because we feel like we're making a difference in someone's life. And I just felt like I had to continue doing that throughout the pandemic. I mean, that's what we do as event planners. Like when there's something wrong, we troubleshoot and we find a creative solution. And it just was in my nature to be like, I have to figure something out for myself, but also to show people that even in like sadness, there can be light.
Oh, that's wonderful. How beautiful. Well, thank you for bringing some of that to our city, to our industry, and now to all of our lovely viewers as well. It means a lot to have you here, Laura. Like I said, I really admire the work that you've done to keep that joy going through this really challenging time when everybody's having a hard time finding joy, I think. So,
well, thank you for asking me. I was so honored because I look up to you as a business person and as a planner, and I've always admired you, and I've always looked to you. So I just was like, oh, you want to talk to me? That's so cool. And I just admire everything you do too. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, yay for Love Fest.
Yay.
Well, thank you again for being here. This was really great. It was lovely to hear about what you've been up to, and keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
See you.